Hi guys, Tony Curtin here from Engage Learning and Development. I've been working with a client recently in RTO and they've had some issues with plagiarism, and it got me thinking about this idea of authenticity. How do we ensure that a student's work really is their work? And what are some evidence-based ways that we can improve authenticity and reduce plagiarism? And it got me thinking about a great book written by a behavioural economist named Ariely, and the book's called The Honest Truth About Dishonesty. And in that book, Ariely talks about a whole bunch of stuff around this idea of honesty. And I think around chapter 2 or chapter 3, he talks about some experiments that he conducted with some big name universities. I think it was MIT, Yale, and Princeton. And what he sought to do was reduce cheating within these groups. They were quite large experimental groups that he got, 400 plus, across multiple experiments. And he wanted to see if he could, with some subtle interventions, reduce cheating hopefully to zero, or at least below the baseline. And when I say the baseline, that is, Ariely in previous experiments has found that if people are given an opportunity to cheat, a certain portion of the population will cheat, and it's predictable. And so what did he do? Well, in these experiments, what he got people to do was sign a pledge prior to undertaking the particular task where they'd have a temptation to cheat. And what he found, what he was able to do was reduce cheating down to zero. That's right, and a couple of experiments actually went down to zero and at the very least had significant reductions. And this is such a subtle input, such a subtle intervention. This idea of giving people a pledge. And you might say, well, what is a pledge? What Ariely did was he got people to sort of sign off on a value-based statement, swearing that they're not going to cheat on the upcoming task or assessment. And, what was quite funny was he actually made up some of these pledges. So they weren't real pledges. He just put them together with his collaborators. And I think we can do the same thing. I think there's something to learn from Ariely's work that can be applied in VET. And I think we can break it down into 3 parts. Firstly, number 1, have a pledge. So write a pledge relating to plagiarism, relating to authenticity for your RTO. And you might base it on, a code of practice that exists within the industry that you're training in, or you might just make it up yourself. Ariely's work found that it didn't really matter what the pledge was, so long as, it kind of sounded genuine, and so long as, links to our second point, that the student signs it, reads it and signs it before they undertake their assessment. So number 1, have a pledge. Number 2, make sure that the student completes it or signs it, reads it and signs it before they complete their assessment. And number 3, as we mentioned, is get the student to sign off on it. Ideally, getting them to provide a written signature, but even better, an electronic signature is just fine. But the most important intervention was actually getting people to complete the pledge, sign off on the pledge before they completed the task. And this is a bit different, I think, to what we do in RTO world. Often it's before the person has submitted, before the person submits, and actually after they've completed the task. So there you have it, folks. A couple of easy ways, quite easy to implement strategies for you to reduce plagiarism and enhance authenticity. And they're based on some really solid evidence. If you like this video, you found it useful, give us a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm Tony Curtin from Engage Learning and Development, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.